Don Ryder was my hero and a man that I will always hold near and dear to my heart. My personal relationship with Don actually goes back much further than my working relationship with him did. When I first met Don, I was working for Jill Kennedy, and she was doing codes of ordinances for cities and towns in Oklahoma and was also managing the New Mexico Municipal League self-insurance fund. And so she and I made trips out there. And so we were officing, though, in the same building where the league offices today. And Jill's office happened to be where the reception area is today. I could always know when Don was nearby by the smell of that wonderful aroma of his pipe that he smoked back then. So one day he popped into my office and he said, wasn't being nosy, just seeing if my next interviewee was here. And I said, oh, what are you interviewing for? And he said, he told me, and I said, well, if they don't show up, I'll sit in for them. And he looked at me and he said, are you serious? And so within 5 minutes, Don had brought me down an application. And before I had that completed, he came in and said, they're ready for you. Well, you have to understand, 25 years ago, I was much greener and had no idea what "they are ready for you" even meant. I had worked a small stint for the federal government and had been in business for myself, owning a children's clothing store. So I said, well, let me comb my hair, put on my lipstick first. And he's like, no, come on. So went in and did the interview, and there were actually 3 gentlemen that I interviewed with. Now, after the interview completed, one of them came in to use the phone. Yes, people back then did not have cell phones. Everybody did not carry a cell phone back then. And he said, I'm not sure if you will get the job, but I did want to tell you that you were very impressive. So by this time, even though that was a very nice compliment, Don had got my interest a little bit piqued in what he was actually looking for. He, at the time, was interviewing for this particular position individuals that were former Speaker of the House and the legislature, very seasoned lobbyists. And I think after a period of time, he decided maybe he wanted to bring somebody on that he could mentor in his own style. And so Don believed in me and he hired me. The unfortunate thing, as most of you know, is 6 months later, he passed away suddenly and unexpectedly. However, I will tell you that the 6 months that I had with him and walking those halls of the state capitol, when he entered, you just knew the command and the respect that he garnered and the wealth of knowledge that he had for municipal government. The award, as it says, is a man of unquestionable character and integrity and values, and that is what Don portrayed everywhere that he went, and something that I have tried to carry on that legacy continually for him on his behalf. Another something that I think is important to add to the story is Don was a man ahead of his time in many regards. Now you have to remember 25 years ago was still the good old boy system. And so not only did Don take a chance in hiring me, he also at that point had, when he was working as the director of the New Mexico Municipal League, there was a lady named Regina Romero. And I had met Regina when Jill and I had made trips out to New Mexico working on the insurance program. And Regina basically popped in off the street one day and told Don she needed a job. Don took a chance on Regina, and Regina is still there today, all these years later, and still managing their very successful lobbying program. Don Ryder was my hero. He was a man of unquestionable morals, character, and integrity. Anyone receiving this Don Ryder Award should hold it in high esteem. Don was truly a man ahead of his time and one that has left a wonderful legacy on behalf of all cities and towns, and one that we should all choose to continue to build on.
I had to learn about the professional side of my dad in school. I've known the personal side, of course, because I grew up with him. He graduated from the University of Michigan with a master's degree in public administration. Moved from there to Colorado to go to work for the Colorado Municipal League. From there, he was hired away very quickly by the town of Rangeley to be their town administrator. In 1959, the family moved from Rangeley to Santa Fe, New Mexico, where Dad became the very first executive director for the New Mexico Municipal League. We were in New Mexico for 12 years, and in 1971, we moved to Oklahoma, where we've been ever since. My dad was a facilitator and collaborator. His goal was never personal success. His goal was always the success of the organizations for which he worked. And I think that can be very well stated and said and seen by the laws that were passed under his leadership that continue to benefit Oklahoma cities and towns. The Oklahoma Open Records Act, the Oklahoma Open Meetings Act, the Budget Act, Title 11 of the Oklahoma Municipal Code. In 1977, he was responsible for the formation of OMAG, Oklahoma Municipal Assurance Group, which today continues to provide risk coverages for 95% of Oklahoma cities and towns, coverages that's specific for their needs. Since his death, he's been honored twice in very specific ways. He's been honored by the New Mexico Municipal League with a scholarship in his name at the University of New Mexico, and he's been honored by the Oklahoma Municipal League with this award and the designation of the Don Ryder Boardroom down at the building. It has been a great pleasure of mine to be able to share with you a little bit about my father.
I first met Don when he came to the Oklahoma Municipal League in 1971, and then I began working with him in August of 1972. He and I worked together until his untimely death in 1988. During that time, the OML grew in membership and services immeasurably. This was due to Don's hard work and many ideas for representing municipal government, not only at the legislature, but to the general public. Don was well respected by legislators he worked with on a daily basis. I believe that was because they knew he would always tell them the truth and was always open with them about the issues. As a lobbyist, you better never tell a lie or misrepresent the outcome of legislation and its effect on local government. Don was respected by his peers in other states. He mentored several league directors during his tenure. That speaks well to his abilities. To be nominated for the Don Ryder Award is a testament to one's honesty, integrity, and hard work. To receive the award would be a highlight in one's career.
It was an honor to work with Don Ryder early in my career. As the executive director of MISO, I had the opportunity to work with Don at the Capitol and watch him lobby for cities and towns like I've never seen anybody else ever do. He was a man of integrity and truth and honor, and that carrying the water for cities and towns in Oklahoma meant everything when it came to legislation. Had it not been for Don's influence, MISO would not have been successful in getting the Oklahoma Municipal Power Authority Act passed. Don was also instrumental in spreading the wings on the OML mission in Oklahoma. Training became important. Research, customer service, all flourished under Don's leadership. He was a model public official. If Don gave you his word, you could count on it. And to win the Don Ryder Award, or even to be associated with the Don Ryder Award, is the highest honor you can get.
Don Ryder had the physical appearance, the style, and the demeanor of your favorite college professor. He's not the kind that lectures you, but the kind that sat with you in the union and drank coffee and guided a discussion. He listened more than he spoke. He was unfailingly polite. He excelled at consensus building. He was as smart as he could be, and he was wise. Don was at the Municipal League at a time when the legislature was particularly active with regard to municipal affairs. He was there when they enacted public sector labor bargaining, the open meeting law, the open records law, and the Tort Claims Act. He reacted well to that. He modernized and reorganized the League for it to provide better services. He was instrumental in developing OMAG, which at the time had health insurance as well as liability insurance. There was also a codification service that allowed municipalities to keep their codes up to date. He added the office of a full-time general counsel. He increased the staff support that OML gave to the state's organizations for public service professionals. At the legislature and in the public, he was the face of municipal government, a face of integrity, commitment to citizen service, and competence. Don never ever cared who got the credit as long as he didn't get any. He was that old metaphor, you know, the duck gliding across the water, furiously paddling away under the surface, but there was always a twinkle in his eye. For me, his significant contribution was that he was such a pioneer in providing opportunities for women to advance careers and become involved in local government. There were very few women elected officials or even staff members at that time, but he saw that women were appointed to league committees and given an opportunity to make presentations at the annual meeting and in various workshops. He urged and encouraged making women more capable and successful, and I think making cities more successful too. Tom Ryder says the first time he met me, I was saying, "Don, what have you gotten me into now?" And oh, how I appreciated his getting me into it. I was fortunate that Don and Barbara Ryder and their children have been my friends. It is impossible to overstate his effect on the League, on Oklahoma municipality, and the hundreds of people who serve them. I think it's also impossible to live up to his standards. Having Don as my mentor is a highlight of my career. For all of us who know Don, receiving the award is overwhelming. It's an honor to be mentioned in the same breath. I keep that particular plaque on my desk as a reminder to me to be the best municipal attorney and official possible, and to show that I learned from his example.
It's indeed a pleasure to see this annual award in honor of Don Ryder. Don, unfortunately, had a great future ahead of him, but his life was cut short. And we do remember the many things he accomplished in the short period of time that he was director of the League. It was so much of a pleasure to work with him. He didn't have a whole lot to say, but when he spoke, most people listened. He treated people with dignity. His demeanor gave rise to others that thought, here's someone that needs to be listened to. He has a voice that needs to be heard. We need to help the cities and towns. That primarily help came through modifications in sales tax.